Dinamo Zagreb 1, Chelsea nil. Janusz Michallik, not many people expected that to happen. Why did it happen?
Well, I think, when we talk about Chelsea and all the chaos that they've gone through since the end of last season, throughout now, obviously a massive turnover, a lot of important players came over. Defensively, obviously losing key players and signing good players as well, and Koulibaly and Fofana. But you could see that in the first half, it looked to me like a team of strangers. And it just almost makes you wonder, if Thomas Tuchel is panicking a little bit, because normally you think of him as, at the very least, very organized coach, right? We know that going forward, there have been issues throughout now. We saw that today as well. In the first half, basically nothing. In the second half, chances, but can't put it away no matter who's leading the line. But the problem is also defensively now they look bad. And that's something that Chelsea was always pretty good at. And, Thomas Tuchel obviously knew how to organize this. So it seems like issues at both ends of the pitch right now. And even in the second half, that a little bit of a panic with Sterling going into the midfield, two number 8s with Mason Mount. I mean, not absolutely terrible, but this is a player that probably, if you remember him from Manchester City in the wide areas, was the one that could cause problems, and he had structure. I think the reason Sterling was so good under Pep Guardiola, because he gave him structure, almost as if he taught him how to play the game. Remember when he left Liverpool, it was always one of those players that you could see, yes, talent, but no end product. And here we are, and I'm not sure what Sterling's best position is at the moment. So I think a lot of worries for Chelsea, of course.
Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang played just under an hour. How did he do?
I think it was okay. He had a couple of looks, right? I mean, it was offside a couple of times or in the build-up. I think ultimately he needs time. I don't want to judge him after this one game, but I thought there was some positives there because you had a point of reference, and it wasn't an easy game psychologically. Obviously, after what happened to him and his family with the mask, there was one situation there, almost as if you remember, very near the far post, as if the mask got in the way. Joking here a little bit, but I thought he was positive at times, and it's way too early for me to say, how good he's going to be.
Yeah, that's patience that's required for that one. The one thing that would frustrate Chelsea fans, and if you watch Chelsea as well, a lot of the time they overplay. They've got a lot of technical players, but 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 touches when 1, 2, or 3 is required. It's like they're trying to score the perfect goal. Sometimes it's not a case of trying to get as many passes or as many touches as possible, but sometimes they need to be a little bit more direct, whether that's fewer touches, whether it's longer passes, whether it's spreading it wide, because that didn't work today. And, Zagreb could probably play for another couple of hours, and Hakim Ziyech could still be hitting the wall with those late free kicks.
Yes, I mean, I can see what you mean. It's always been the fact that they've struggled, right, breaking low-lying defense. I mean, they've had more opportunities in the first half because Dinamo was trying to play a little bit. But again, I think it's the chaos because you have different lineups, different systems, sometimes 2 or 3 systems within the game. Although you can say that that's normal for all the teams to be fluid and change that. But I think part of that is that we saw against West Ham where you had 2 pretty good wingers having to cross the ball to Pulisic and I'm not sure who, and Sterling as the 2 strikers, right? It just doesn't make sense. Today, again, the changes in the second half, even though Chelsea looked the better team and looked the more dangerous team, I think that's the nature of the game. A quality side like Chelsea, when they're behind, eventually they're going to get a hold of the game. But as you said, the situations were there. So I don't know what to put this down to, because on one hand you say, well, when you create a lot of good chances, eventually they'll go in. But we've seen it over the time that doesn't necessarily happen. So, I don't know if you just put that down to bad luck. And then again, we have to talk about the goal conceded, because that was just incredibly, incredibly bad. I'm one to give new signings sometimes, but I still, if you play for Chelsea, there's some expectations. And you look at that, that goal that Orsic scored. I mean, where was Koulibaly going? I mean, he was 75 yards away from his own goal, overcommitting, and Fofana even still, I mean, couldn't catch up with him. So all 10 players in Dinamo's half, and in the end, 2 very good players, I think, that had experience and pace, couldn't deal with a simple 1-2, a header to a player that just basically walked in on the goal. So, I mean, that's pretty bad, no matter how long they've been there.
Finally, it's match day one. It's a defeat on match day one. It's not time to panic just yet, but Zagreb, supposedly the weakest side in the group. What do Chelsea need to do from here going forward? Because the next games to come are going to be against better sides than Zagreb.
Yeah, I think Chelsea will in that group you have Salzburg and Milan. I'm not saying that this is going to be a walkover, but I have a feeling that Chelsea, with time and with that talent, would find a way. We keep talking about bad starts. We've seen it from Manchester United. We've seen it from Leicester City, just talking about Premier League because of the Chelsea topic. But eventually, they'll look for that catalyst. There'll be a game or two where they'll get on the run and they have the talent. But I think that the major reason I worried is that the Tuchel has to get that right quickly, because it's too big of a club who just spent, what, 400 million pounds in the offseason. There are expectations. You can't just hope to win a couple games, then maybe finish second in the group. And if you struggle in the Premier League on top of that, I think there's going to be some issues within.
Thanks so much for watching ESPN on YouTube. And for more sports highlights and analysis, be sure to download the ESPN app. And for premium content and live streaming, subscribe to ESPN Plus.